The company I chose to analyze is PepsiCo. I chose this company because I have always been a Pepsi drinker. And a few years ago is when I realized that Pepsi was not the name of the company. It was one of many brands that PepsiCo manufactured. PepsiCo has 22 brands that generate over $1 billion in estimated annual sales. The company is made up of 6 divisions and is one of the world's leading food and beverage companies. In 1965, Donald Kendall, who was the CEO of Pepsi Cola, and Herman Lay, CEO of Frito-Lay at the time, came together to form PepsiCo. For more than 50 years, PepsiCo has been keeping up with trends and tastes and emerging with them. The 10 ratios that I calculated in the following slides are derived from the consolidated statements. These are the statements that have all of the divisions combined. The current ratio is calculated by dividing the current assets by the current liabilities. Assets are the resources owned by a company, and liabilities are a company's legal financial debts. PepsiCo's current ratio is 0.99. This means that for every dollar in liabilities, it has 99 cents in assets. The operating cash flow to total liabilities ratio is calculated by dividing the cash flows from operating activities by the average total liabilities. Because it is the average total liabilities, I added the liabilities from 2017 and 2018 and divided by 2. The accounts receivable turnover is calculated by dividing net sales by the average trade receivables. In 2018, the trade receivables was $6,079, and in 2017, they were $5,956. These amounts were found on the supplemental report of the balance sheet. This page is a breakdown of everything that is on the consolidated balance sheet. The accounts receivable turnover for 2018 is 10.7. This means that in 2018, PepsiCo collected its average accounts receivable almost 11 times. The accounts payable ratio is calculated by dividing inventory purchases by the average accounts payable. The beginning and ending inventory is found on the supplemental balance sheet. PepsiCo can pay off accounts payable 4 times. The inventory turnover ratio is computed by dividing cost of goods sold by the average inventory. Inventory turnover is how many times a company sells and replaces inventory during a certain period. An ideal rate is between 4 and 6. PepsiCo is a slamming 22.1. The gross profit percentage ratio for PepsiCo is 55%. This figure shows the margin earned after applying production costs. Some may think just because the gross profit percentage is over 50%, it's considered good. This depends on what the company's expectations were for that year and what the percentage was for previous years. Working capital is calculated by subtracting current liabilities from current assets. PepsiCo's working capital is a negative number. This means the company has more short-term debt than short-term assets. The debt to equity of PepsiCo is 4.3. This is calculated by dividing total liabilities by common shareholders' equity. Most financial and manufacturing companies have high ratios. The debt to assets ratio shows how much of a company's assets are financed by debt. It's calculated by dividing the total liabilities by total assets. Creditors like to use this ratio to see how much debt a company already has. The asset turnover is computed by dividing net sales by average total assets. This ratio measures a company's ability to generate sales from its assets. PepsiCo has a turnover of 0.82. 57% of PepsiCo's mix of net revenue came from the U.S., 43% from outside of the U.S. Some numbers from 2018 were not as good as 2017, but there was a 2% change in net revenue. Net revenue in 2017 was $63,525 and increased to $64,661 in 2018. There are many risk factors that can affect a company's year-end statement in negative ways. There were many headlines in 2018 about PepsiCo's decline. Some even forecasted a troublesome 2019 for the company. Although the annual statement was not available on the company's site, other sites and headlines proved that in 2019, PepsiCo was back on top.